Welcome to our World Refugee Day event hosted by the Hartford Public Library, the Old State House, and UConn's Gladstein Family Human Rights Institute. My name is Erna Alic, and I am very grateful to have organized this very special event with my colleague Michelle Brophy. On this day, I want to acknowledge the strength and courage of refugees and bring awareness to the still very relevant and current refugee crisis going on. I came to the United States when I was just a baby, with my parents as refugees from Bosnia. And while I know many, including my parents, don't like using the term refugee or calling themselves refugees, I redefine that word and seen it as a representation of great endurance, of overcoming barriers, of being more than just a label. Refugees are not only displaced people, they are artists, scientists, community organizers, cooks, librarians, teachers, doctors, moms and dads, and most importantly, humans. I would say very successful humans at that. Without further ado, I will present our very successful panelists who will show what a refugee means. Our first panelist is Fereshteh Ganjavi, who is a refugee from Afghanistan and is the founder and executive director of Elena's Light, a nonprofit organization based in Connecticut that is dedicated to building a brighter future for refugee women and children. She firmly believes that educating refugee women can positively impact their entire families and in turn improve society and the community at large. Ganjavi earned her Bachelor of Business Administration and second Bachelor of Science in Public Health from Southern Connecticut State University. Our second panelist is Lina Osho-Williams, who was born in Sierra Leone and left the country in 1997 in the midst of a civil war and settled in Gambia for 2 years before arriving in the United States, and eventually arriving in Hartford in 1999. She taught preschool and early childhood education department with the Community Renewal Team, and now she's Assistant Director to the Hartford Public Library's Youth and Family Services Department. Our third panelist is Ati Rai, who is a former refugee, now U.S. citizen, who was born and raised in a refugee camp in Nepal. Her family was from Bhutan. She came to the United States in 2011 at the age of 16 and spoke no English then. She went to Hartford High School and graduated from Wesleyan University. At Wesleyan, she majored in government with a concentration in international politics. Before Wesleyan, she also attended Manchester Community College. She is currently a caseworker at IRIS, the largest refugee settlement organization in Connecticut. Her ultimate goal is to become a lawyer and work with NGOs, specifically focusing on refugees and vulnerable populations. Our fourth panelist is Salahuddin Adam, who is a refugee from Darfur, Sudan, who lived in the Dajabal refugee camp in Chad. He arrived in the United States at the age of 17 and attended Hartford Public High School. He became a Hartford Promise Scholar after graduating high school and just recently graduated from American International College with a degree in public health. His goal is to get a master's in public health and go back home one day, provide adequate health care, and improve and fix the health problems refugees have in camps. Give a round of applause to our panelists. So I'm going to start with some of the questions. We can answer them in order. So the first question is, can you share your journey on becoming a refugee and arriving to the United States? Fereshteh, you can start first.
Okay, hi everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. I don't know how to start it because I was born as a refugee. Let me tell you, 45 years ago, when war started in Afghanistan, my parents had to escape the country and go to the neighboring country. Myself and my younger sister, both born as a refugee in a neighboring country. We had so much difficulty there, and the life passed. After 26 years of living there, there was a chance and opportunity for us to leave that country and again became another refugee at the second step. It was hard. After when I had 6 years old, I find out I'm different than others here because we are refugee. We weren't allowed to go to school. We weren't allowed to do the thing that we wanted to do, but with making a fake ID and my father fighting for our rights, we were able to go to school and to get some of the education. I had only 12 years old when he came to me and said, Fereshteh, I was able to make a fake ID for you to go to school, but there is a lot of other kids in the mosque, and they want to go to school, but I cannot make a fake ID for everyone. Therefore, I decided make a school for them. He rent a basement, and then I said, this is a great way, but who's gonna teach them? My father said, you. I had 12 years old, we started a refugee school in one basement that my father rented. It was same as this room, but not this bright or light. It was very dark. We started making a 5 classroom. I don't want to get the other people's talk, but I can talk about that later. After making that school and working there for several years, we went to the United Nations and applied for coming here. Then we came to the United States and became a real refugee again. But being a refugee here in US was different than being a refugee in a different country. And I have a lot of great and also not great experience. I will share some of that tonight for you. But it's my pleasure to see you all and be here in front of you. Thanks for the time to coming this evening.
Thank you so much, Fereshteh. Lina, if you want to share your journey.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay, so, I remember almost 24 years ago, that's how long I've been in this country. And I remember when my family and I was going through the refugee process, and one of the things that they told us is, when you come to the US, you're going to be sharing your story. You're going to be teaching people about you, your culture, your tradition. And those early years, we did that. But then afterwards, I didn't get to share my story that much because I've been here that long in this country. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to go back, think deep, and revisit. So my refugee experience really started in 1997 in Sierra Leone. We had a military takeover in our country. And even before that, since 1991, we had a rebel war in Sierra Leone. It started in the provinces, the upcountry, and the government was able to kind of put it under control, but it's the type of war they were fighting is guerrilla warfare. So things will sizzle and then it will pop up again. But it got worse in 1997, immediately after that coup d'etat in Sierra Leone. Everything just stopped. It was like the rule of law just went to shambles. I remember as a young woman, because I was, 29 at that time, just got married a year ago, got a job, finished college 2 years before, happily married, excited in that early part of my life, have a child who was 1 year old, my daughter at that time. And then we had to stop. All offices, businesses were just like frozen. Couldn't go to work, couldn't go anywhere, scared to go to the market to buy food because there were shootings everywhere, sporadic shootings. And then we come to realize the rebel faction had kind of joined forces with the military government, the military rulers that overthrew our country. So things were just all over. They broke into the prison, released some of the notorious prisoners. Things were just going everywhere, shooting. You would be sleeping in your house and you just hear shooting and heavy bombardment. So I had left home at that time because I was married, right? But my father, who wasn't a Sierra Leonean, but he'd lived in Sierra Leone for over 30 years, he's a Gambian, and he made a decision to kind of, remove his family from what was happening. Talked to my husband and said, I think it's better for me and my daughter to go, with my family. And so that's how we decided and left, and at that time, all the foreign countries were, rallying around, getting America too, getting their citizens, even the neighboring African countries sending, boats and airplanes and everything to remove their citizens from this. So that's how we left in, I believe, June 3rd in 1997. We traveled from Sierra Leone through a boat. It was, I think, one of these cruise ship that the capacity was like about 500 people at that time. We left Sierra Leone. I think we were at sea about 3 days, can't remember. But anyway, I remember the day we arrived because it was the day of the African Child, which is June 6th. And the Gambians were all embracing, welcoming. There was the Red Cross who were registered there, gave us water and everything. And we we settled and started life in the Gambia. And we were there for 2 years. My husband and I were teachers. I taught for the very first time in the Gambia. My husband was a professional teacher. So we taught in the Gambia for 2 years. But during that period, we registered at the UNHCR as refugees and went through all this. The process was rigorous, but we left. And eventually we came to the United States in 1999, May 26th, 24 years ago. And it was the Interfaith Refugee Ministry that kind of did all of our paperwork, brought us here, and then they kind of connect us to the Warburton, a local church here, the Warburton Community Church, Congregational Church. And the pastor and everybody chipped in to get us comfortable, we settled. There were some who housed us, right? And then there were others who took us to get our Social Security card. They all played their role right up to our very first job. And once we got our job, we got resettled, we were kind of on our own. But before that, they helped us to be here. And so that's my journey coming to the United States, and I'll stop there for now.
Thank you, Lina. Ati?
First, I'd like to thank Hartford Public Library, UConn, and also the Old Estate House for this opportunity. For me, my journey is, my parents are from Bhutan, but we are ethnically Nepali. And so my parents, grandparents went to Bhutan for the better opportunity. And I don't know, they said they had a better land in Bhutan. So they settled in southern part of Bhutan. And then they were living there as Bhutanese citizens. And my grandparents were born and raised there. But later on, they had an ethnic conflict around 1990s. They had the ethnic conflict because Bhutanese government passed this policy of one nation, one people. That means the Nepalese people had to wear national clothes, and so Nepali people refused that. They wanted to kind of preserve their culture, even they were living in the Bhutan for generations, and they wanted to incorporate both culture, but Bhutanese government did not want that, and so because of that, Nepalese people start to go against, and then there was I wouldn't say civil war. It was mostly government oppressing people, Nepalese people, because they were they didn't wanted Nepali people to teach English, Nepali language in the southern part of Bhutan, and we were called Lokchompa, so they didn't want anything like that. And also they started to do the census, where they actually looking into whether these people are actually the Bhutanese or not. They whether these people are living there here for generation or generation as they claim or not. They start to look into that. So people got scared, and then including my parents, especially my parents, they did not. They were like farmers. They were just like regular farmers. They didn't go to school. Only my dad went like to I think to grade. That's all. And so because they didn't have any knowledge about like like how the government system works, or like what is the policy, what kind of policy passed, and all that. So only like educated people knew what was going on, and so they were afraid. And so everybody, there was like rumors that now like you either have to leave, or like the Bhutanese government gonna come and capture all of you. And then so then they like, but Bhutanese government gave they were like smart. Bhutanese government, like it was like they have a king, so they were smart enough to say like they gave the option. Making sure like they were like you sign this paper, and then you give your property to us, and then we'll give some money to you, and you can leave. So that way, like, it's not a forced, it's a like volunteer leave. They will like claim as a volunteer leave, but like their action is like how they are doing is an indirect forcing like people to leave, all the Nepali people. And so most of the people took the opportunity, including my parents and also my like relatives. And I still have my uncle there in Bhutan. So yeah, they took that opportunity and then left Bhutan and came to Nepal and became a refugee, which is in 1992. And I was born and raised in Nepal, and like 3 of my siblings are born and raised in Bhutan, but I and including my other 3 brothers were like born and raised in Nepal, and we don't know anything about Bhutan. But even in Nepal also, like I couldn't claim myself as a Nepalese, I couldn't claim myself as a Bhutanese, because I speak Nepali, but I couldn't even claim myself as Nepalese because we were like outsider to Nepalese government, and also people like we were Nepalese, but like to Nepalese people who hold the citizenship of Nepal, we were like outsider to them. And to Bhutan, like I don't know anything about Bhutan, no, not culture, not language, not anything. So I was stranger to them also. So like, yeah, when I start to like have this kind of like identity crisis, like around I guess the age where I start to learn about like who I am and what kind, like like I don't know. There is a certain age where you learn about like these things, right? So that's so I had that. And then they said like in the camp they had a several talk about like they gave a 3 option: repatriate, so that means like going back to Bhutan. That was one option. One option is like settling within the West community within Nepal, and third option was resettlement, like third country resettlement. So they were like 3 options. Bhutanese government didn't want to take all the Bhutanese refugee, so that didn't happen. So that was like kind of out of list. And then Nepalese government could not able to provide to Bhutanese people like land or anything because they are poor themselves. So only option they left with is third country resettlement. So after staying in the camp for like 20 years for my parents, they chose this option, and it wasn't even easy for my parents because they didn't really know what U.S. is like. They didn't know what European countries is like. We didn't have a TV, we didn't have anything, and so it was very hard choice for my parents. That program started in 2008, but 2007. But people were reluctant to leave the camp because they think like they couldn't believe that they were taking to somewhere like better. So they couldn't leave. So like people did not choose that, and a lot of people when they first started to come, our people, they were like they had to like kind of hide themselves outside of the camp to leave the camp because like there were like other people who are like kind of like pro-Bhutanese, pro-Bhutan government. They were like, oh, you are like now betraying us, like we don't want you to leave, like, and so there was like some like, I know like few cases where like, those family were like, not a whole family, but some family member were killed because they were like leaving the camp and coming to the US. So yeah, because that was like beginning, but later on people start to understand it is actually true. There's a better place, and they are taking to the better like countries. And then like my brother also wanted to come. He was just 18, turning 18, and he convinced my parents to let him come himself. So he came himself in 2009, and then when he came, he said like the only he told us that it is actually true. It is better. It is gonna be better for my siblings. So to my parents, like, please come, bring my siblings also here, because it's better for them, because they will go to the school and they can be whatever they want to be. And so finally my brother able to convince my parents, and then we started process in 2010, and then since then it took like 1 year to like for the whole process. And then I didn't even know what to expect in America, beside like my brother said like I can be whatever I want to be. That was the only thing in my mind, and I didn't even know what it looked like. So during the orientation time, so they had like the process takes like 1 year. So during the orientation, that's the like last step. Coming to the U.S., they prepare you, like they will tell you like what to expect in the U.S. Like they will talk about the cultural aspect, and then also like living condition and everything. So that time they give us the booklet that shows the like big building, and since then seeing that, I made up mind like, oh, so we are living in this kind of like building, which is like travelers. I thought that those are the building that we are living in, which wasn't really true when I came here. So yeah, so that was the process, and that was done by IOM. I think most of the refugees come through the IOM. So yeah, and then yeah, I came here with my families, and yeah, so Hartford. We settled in Hartford. I'm still here, and other thing is I love Hartford.
Thank you so much, Ati. Salahuddin, can you share your journey on becoming a refugee and arriving to the United States?
Yes. Can you hear me, guys? Every refugee, I'm sure every refugee knows that they didn't just escape a place. They had to escape 1,000 memories until they put enough time and distance between them and their misery. I'm from Sudan, Darfur. If you don't know where that is, it's Darfur is a region with many indigenous people and about 120 languages and ethnicity, tribes, and many stuff. So war started in my hometown in 2003, 6 a.m. exactly, I remember. And nobody knew why it happened, how it happened. It's just that the government wanted control over his people, and that's how it started. When it started, the balloon started popping. I was only 2 years old, and my mom, my dad was actually blind. His eyes started shutting down when he was very young age. He was a shepherd. He used to bring his animals out and swim swim like somewhere, and that's how he got his eyes started shutting. down when he started growing up, as his eyes started shutting down at age 20, before he got married to my mom. And when that started, my mom, she was our hero. When this started, they started killing, especially boys, and letting go of girls. I remember seeing kids getting born inside the hut and on fire, and looking that as when I was 2 years old, I took this picture with me, and it's been almost 20 years, but I still remember, like yesterday. And like when my mom, she took my hand and running, I could see people crying, mothers crying, parents crying, trying to ask them like compassion and stuff, but didn't stop them. So we escaped disguising ourselves with my mom's clothes, because they were letting go of girls and killing boys, and maybe capturing them and turning them into military when they grow older. So we went to Chad in 2003, before my mom gave birth to my brother. She was pregnant when war started, and the next morning she gave birth to my brother. When we were there, we didn't know anybody. There was many languages in Chad. There was many people that spoke numerous languages, but some of them spoke Arabic. So Arabic was the national language for them to communicate with people. We knew Arabic, but we didn't know how to read and write. So I was young. We didn't have. We left our homes only with our clothes and nothing in our hand. When we got there, they gave us a tent. Like we were not actually. We were 8 people. They gave us a tent to sleep, and like we stayed there for more than 5 years in tent. Like some days we go to sleep, like empty stomachs. And my dad was not able to go out hunt. My mom wasn't able to with the child. And my brothers, 3 brothers they were very young to go out, and I was only 2 years old. So we stayed there, under refugee protection. We received like few like food to eat like each night. So my dad, I think my dad and my mom, they had to give their food to us so that we can go to bed, with like for our stomachs full. So when I was there, my mom tried and got connection outside the camp, and she started farming. My dad was not able to find a regular job like any other man, and she started working like the man in the house, feeding everyone, and then once I turned like 5-year-old, I started helping my mom going to school. I was not able to. There was not good school. It was just like religion school. Like you go learn like stuff, basic stuff. I was not able to focus on school. I was just trying to help my mom and my dad. We to survive a refugee and go to better place. So my dad was able to find like a job overnight. He was blind, but they gave him like job overnight so he can stay as a guard and watch shop that is like meat, fresh meat is there. He can watch overnight. Like sometimes there's hyenas, dogs all around there. Nobody want a job, but he took the risk to feed us. And yeah, he fed us like every night, and then gave him free food and some money for the family, and he uses that money to send me to school. I went to school and helping my mom, but I was not able to learn anything. The school was very hard there. There was no pens to learn. There's no papers or like stuff to write and to learn. So it was very hard for me. I went there every day, but I did not manage to get in any word. But I learned how to speak Arabic, and I started speaking to people, and we stayed there with my family for 11 years in camp, trying to survive to come here. First, when my dad got the name, we were lucky to get our name to come here. When he was gonna start the process, people told him it's not a good place, and he took the word and declined the first time, and then they gave him another chance because we were really struggling to survive. I passed this, but when we arrived there, I was also malnourished. I was almost like dying. I stayed in hospital for like 2 years. So yeah, and then once my mom started farming, that's how I started my health starting to come back. And then like my dad, yeah, he believed the people that this place was not good, and he wouldn't leave another place and go to next one and suffer like we did. So he found a news from other rumors were saying this place is very good. So he approved the second time, and we were able to finish our process, and we came here in 2015, exactly October. I remember coming to this place like I thought I was dreaming. I never seen anything like this before. I've been to two different places as young, but this place was not believable. I never seen lights, cars, buildings, or anything. Everything was just a newly discovering for me. So I stayed, keep telling myself this is just a dream for weeks, months, until I started telling myself this is not a dream anymore. So yeah, here I came in here without papers, but yeah, before we came here, they were managed to give us papers. We didn't know our age. We did not know our birth certificates. My dad was hardly to remember anything about information about our birthday or his. He did not know, my mom either. So they were able to make birth certificates for us to live here. It wasn't correct, but I'm glad that they made papers for us. So that if we didn't have papers, how we're gonna live in here? I'm glad they made it papers for us to stay here. And when we arrived here, I was 17. I was illiterate. I didn't know anything. People would say hello to me, but I would smile them back. I would smile back. Everything people say, I look at them. They smile to me. I smile them. But I smile back. That's how I stayed for like a month. And they registered me to Hartford High. I was lucky. My sister and my two older brothers were not lucky to go to school. They immediately started working when they came here. Yeah, I was ready to work with them too because I wanted to help my family. I didn't really care about education, so all I wanted to do was just help my dad, and my mom, because they did that.
So thank you. We're gonna continue. We're gonna answer. You're gonna probably go in and talk more about that one later in our next question. But thank you all so much for sharing your stories. I know it must be very difficult going and even traumatizing to go and reimagine and see everything that you probably weren't even thinking about at the time, and not thinking about currently, or not wanting to relive these memories. But thank you so much for trusting in us to tell your story, and for trusting us to take it very seriously and being there for you. Now we're going to talk more on a lighter note, kind of your successes, your motivation to do what you're doing right now. And the next question is, how did you get in the position that you are today? What was your motivation to be in the career that you currently are in, if you are in a career, and if you're studying, what was the motivation to study what you did in college? So, Fereshteh.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we won't make it very, traumatized, but we all had a difficult life, and I'm sure every single human. My mother said, if anyone doesn't have a difficulty in their life, they are not human. Every human being have difficulties. Now we are here. Let me tell you now who I am. A person who never imagined wants to get education or became someone one day, but always dream. Right now, I'm in front of you. I became a leader in my community. Not I wanted, I became one without wanted. I create this difficulty in the life, the road that my father put me in at a young age, bring me here at this right now. But still, I'm on this road of being successful one day. I'm a founder and director of Elena's Light, a nonprofit organization that's aiming and trying to make a brighter future for refugee women and children like myself. When I came here, my phone was empty. I was walking in the street and looking at people. I thinking I'm walking on the cloudy place and that don't know anyone. I feel like, is it possible one day I have someone's American number in my phone, American friends in my phone? Can I call someone, talk with someone? That was a dream for me. Can I touch a car one day? Can I drive one day? All was a dream of getting access. When I get a bus, I tell this story several places. When I get a bus from my home to downtown for first time, I get lost back home again. I sit in a corner and start crying. I told my mother, no, this is not what I wanted. This is not gonna work. I don't know how to get back home, how I can change the world. This was the dream I had when I came to the GFK. I said, okay, now it's time for me to run and achieve what I really want and change the world. But when that thing happening, I said, no, I cannot do it. When I cannot know how to use taking a bus, how I can change other people's life. My mother said, if you sit here and cry, you cannot do anything. Stand up, ask people, and get help. I stand up, but there is no language to talk. All I know was, hi, how are you? She said, let's draw them what we want. My caseworker, probably Annie see a lot of this, was Miss Linda Bronstein at IRIS. I draw when we need a pot. Yes, when we need a pot to cooking, I draw for her, I need a pot, or I need these things. That was the communication. At that time, we didn't have Siri to tell them where is the address. It was hard to find, but we had a phone, we tried to find a way. I started going to college at Gateway Community College, get my associate degree, and then went to Southern Connecticut State University to get my second bachelor on public health. Now I'm working to go, everyone pray for me, any way you do, to get into the Yale Public Health for PhD program. I want to get my PhD in public health. That's my second dream. I'm I'm working with more than 100 refugee and immigrant families. We have 35 women only this semester for one-on-one ESL classes. They're all refugee women, all awesome, wonderful. We had another refugee world event on Saturday at Yale. It was wonderful. I wish I knew you all and I can invite you maybe next year. We have a health classes once a month. It's in 3 languages, Pashto, Dari, and Arabic. Most of these wonderful refugee immigrants come here in Connecticut. They didn't have chance to go to school, but now we can give them one-on-one classes or in the group classes to tell them about mental health, the challenges they had. Most of them, like myself and the other who speak, came from a camp. I had honor to be in a camp for 5 months. It's very difficult. It's really hard time to be in a camp. I can't imagine other people when they say they were 11 years or many years there. It's a modern of jail, I can say. It was difficult. These people need support, like not just food, not money. Someone talk with them and tell them and show them the light. What I always said, if you want someone to become successful, give them a light, they can find their own way, and instead of walking with them. This is how I learned. I asked a lot of questions and learned a lot from other people and did what I think give me in this position. Now I have not one American people in my phone, it's 1,000. And I'm receiving a lot of calls, texts, emails, and I'm happy to be part of this community and with working with this human being and creating and making the change that I really want. When I see a text message, an email, a call from a refugee woman said, I got driver license, thank you. I passed my citizenship test. I know like all of you who work with this community, you have the same feeling. You feel proud, happy, and excited. Said, I made it. This happened. But I cannot do all of this alone. I have connected with a lot of American universities here. Before, I was locally, just getting a student from Yale, Sudan, UConn, but now we have communicated with more than 50 universities across the United States. Because after COVID, we changed the program to online. The ESL is one-on-one online, and the health is in person, in group, when we try to do it in person too. One thing that's my other dream, I'm trying to work on that. Hopefully next year I can sit in front of you and say that dream became true, to make a kind of first refugee center in Connecticut. We have great, awesome resettlement agencies. They are doing awesome work, really appreciate it, but we don't have a space for the refugee immigrants. That's their own center, to have like sewing class, to have like a place for youth, they can have their own space, or communicate, doing cooking. When I used to work as a medical interpreter at hospital, always doctor told their patients, go to the mosque if you feel alone. But not all of the refugees are Muslim or Christian or related to any religions. That's a good place to go, but not a permanent solution for them. I think if Connecticut, like other states, I'm working with a lot of other states over Zoom now, they all have a refugee center mainly, but Connecticut doesn't have one. That's my second goal. If you know anyone, if you know any connection, any way that can help, I would appreciate it. And is there anything else you want to speak?
Thank you so much, Fereshteh. Amazing. Fereshteh is having us all dream big now. We'll be in contact. Lina, so kind of how are you in this position today? What motivated you to be here? I also heard you mention a relationship that you have similar with
I know.
a case manager.
So we share the same case manager, by the way. Linda Buskin was, a long time ago. I could literally see her coming into our apartments every week. She used to visit us, and she really worked us. And she really connected us with really good people. Warburton Community Church.
Small world.
Small world, yeah. If you see her, tell her I say hi.
That's another dream I forgot to mention. To give a nice gift, something, appreciate Miss Linda Bronstein. She served for more than 30 years now at IRIS and serving and helping a lot of refugees and immigrants. She's like a grandma or mother for us.
Please share contact with me.
Sure, I will. She does.
Anyways, wow, I have come so far. But I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna travel back to Sierra Leone because that's where my values, especially educational values, are deeply rooted. Since I have 3 brothers, I'm the only girl. But growing up, my parents instilled in us that the importance of learning, going to school, finishing school, going to college. It was not a negotiation. You gotta go to college. So I remember my dad is no longer alive, but I remember when I was getting ready to go to college, and he looked at me and he said, "So I'm sending you to college, and I want you, when you go there, make sure that you get that degree. You can enjoy yourself and do everything, but that paper is the most important thing that you need to get, because that's what's gonna give you the foundation that you need in life." Never forgot that. Little did I know that I would be traveling here. And I'm not saying coming to America, you need to have a college degree, no. But I had a strong foundation, educational foundation, because at least I got a bachelor's. And that's how I build. So being here, I've always wanted to become a teacher. That was like I love teaching, I love children. My first job was a program assistant working at the National Council for Children in Sierra Leone. And it's all about protecting children's rights and everything. I think all my jobs that I've done is working with children, because that's my passion, working with children and families. And I wanted to become a teacher. I have a bachelor's in English and sociology, but I can't work. Of course, I can't become a teacher here because, of course, I'm not certified. And plus, I have a foreign credential. So first off, with all the inquiries that I made, you have to get your degree or your paper evaluated. And that's how I got my the degree evaluated. But even before that, every little experiences, job experiences that I had in this country, it was not accidental. It was meant to be like a springboard to move to the next level. My very first job in this country was, TJ Maxx. I worked there for 3 months, was it, or 4 months? Can't remember. They hired me as a cashier. Just came from this country to this country, 1999. I think I was hired. Came in May, June, July, August, sometime in the fall. Anyways, I was hired as a cashier. Don't know much about. I'm figuring, navigating myself. Don't know even the money. And they hired me as a cashier. And then I'm right there at the desk helping a customer, and then I wasn't sure what a nickel is. And then I turned to another cashier. I said, "Excuse me, what is a nickel?" And she's like, "Oh, you are a cashier and you don't know the money?" But yeah, that was the experience in America. But anyways, I did that job for about 3 or 4 months, and then I got the opportunity to be a teacher, which I was in the Gambia. When we moved to the Gambia, I taught English for 2 years in the Gambia. That was my area of expertise. So I got I got the opportunity to become a preschool teacher at the community CRT, at the local street early childhood department or classrooms. And I was happy because that's what I knew, teaching. But not little ones, because when I was teaching, I taught middle school kids and high school kids. But I love children, so I'm like, I think I can make this work. And the educator, the coordinator who hired me, Miss Nasa Uram, she was like, you'll be able to teach little ones. I'm like, okay. And of course, I went into the classroom, 1999, very first time teaching 3 to 5 year olds, and I loved it. And I think I took up almost like 6 months in the job, and I thought to myself, I think I would love to do the CDA, to become a child development associate, which is like the very base, very base of the early childhood degree. And one of my colleagues was like, but you already had a bachelor's, you don't need that. I'm like, well, but I don't know much about early childhood, so I would definitely want to do that, and that's what I did. And that just opened up a world of passion for early childhood education for me. So that's how kind of all these experiences are building. And I taught for almost 5 years as a preschool teacher. And then I decided to do my master's in early childhood education. Those were the early days when online schooling started at the University of Phoenix. Got that, I was so thrilled. But then I was ready to move to the next level, and an opportunity at the Hartford Public Library opened. My husband then was working at the library, and he kind of encouraged me to come. I'm like, do you think I could do this? He's like, of course you can. So that's how I applied for the Assistant Youth Services librarian position at the Blue Hills branch. I think I was rejected the first time I interviewed for the job. And you know that letter that they always say, you did good and everything, blah, 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 but there were better candidates than you. Not in that way. But anyways, but I left CRT, and then I moved on to, applied for another teaching position at one of the city of Hartford. It was the Burns Early Childhood Education Program. And I was hired as a teacher there, but I didn't like it. The experiences was just so different from what I had at local streets, and it was becoming depressing because at CRT, I was a teacher. I taught. I did everything. I cleaned, but at this job that I had at this center, I was kind of reduced to just cleaning tables. And I'm saying to myself, why did I leave my previous job? I could have stayed there and finished, because during that period, I was still doing my master's in early childhood education, because I was not finished then. So every day I'll go home and I'll cry, because I regretted making that huge change. And up to today, I don't like making big changes like that in my life. But anyways, I remember that very day when I got this call from Deborah Perry. She was the associate librarian. That's how they called the directors then in the library for youth and family services. And she's like, oh, this is Deborah Perry. I'm asking for Lina. I'm like, this is she. Oh, are you still interested in that position? And I'm like, yes! I was so thrilled, because I really wanted to leave the current job that I was. And I started at the library. I remember 2005, walking into the downtown library, everything, building so big and huge, and I was amazed. I'm like, wow, I'm in the library. And when I came here as a refugee, I remember my very first library card, going to the Mark Twain Library, and the youth services librarian that had helped my daughter and I to give us our very first library card. She was very polite, welcoming, and everything. I could never forget that day. Little did I know that I will be working in the library in years to come. And 2005, worked at the Blue Hills branch for a couple of years, and then my boss then, my supervisor then, there was this opening for youth and family services manager, and of course, the required degree was on MLS. I have a master's in education, not a professional librarian, and they tried, but for some reason, they didn't get the best candidates. I was not thinking at all. In fact, I was literally scared. Didn't want to work at downtown. Everything was still new for me, and just so many different things. But she came up to me and she's like, "Are you interested in this position?" And I'm like, I don't know. I don't have a master's degree in library science. And she's like, "No, you have an education degree. I think you'll be good for it." I said, "Are you sure?" I was really unsure of myself then. I mean, those days, I lost my voice in America. And there were so many different things. Being unsure of myself, thinking about how I sound. Of course, when I'm nervous, my accents come out and all those things. It was just so many different things, But she was one supervisor that I'm so thankful for because she helped pave my way around in the library world. And she literally held my hand, helped me, prepare me, give me the confidence that I needed. And I just fell in love with library. I mean, the children are there because those are my passion. I'm like, I love this job. Because I was just going to do a couple of years and then get my teaching credential and go back to teaching. But then I got stuck in the library because I love the library. And again, at that time when I was working, I taught the whole group. It was 18 and under, the little ones, the middle schoolers, the teens. So I did everything. And I'm like, I think this is where I'm meant to be. So after 17 years working at the library, becoming a youth services youth services manager at that time, I've done it all. I've got the experience, and I'm like, well, it's about time for me to go back to school to get my, MLS degree. I've spent over at that time it was 15 years. Over 15 years, got the experience. But there were some technical things that were lacking, And of course, in terms of just moving up to the next level, I wanted to get that degree. And I didn't want to retire from the library and not being called a professional librarian. So I made the decision to go back to school virtually, signed myself at Simmons University, got a lot of help. Homer Nafisi, Nancy Cardigan, they were my backbone. Brenda Miller, they all, wrote the references that I needed, to get myself into library school. It's made a world of difference. I learned a lot going back to school. I don't regret it at all. I'm happy. And I finished my MLS degree, when was it? 2021, a couple of years ago.
When I graduated too.
Yeah, and I graduated with my son too, because my son finished high school, getting ready, and we were like, oh, look at us, two graduates. We celebrated that time. Now, a year after the opportunity and opening came, and I remember when I wrote my statement of purpose, I did say my goal was eventually to become a director for the Youth and Family Services, because I've been there long enough. I don't want to switch over to any department because I love children. That's it. So it's interesting, a year after the position opened, again, I hesitated. Homa Nafisi is a backbone. She came twice. I remember she came first when I was doing my master's, and she's like, because there was an opening then. She's like, have you thought about applying for this position? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm in school. It's too much. It's a lot of work. And she's like, okay. And then the second time around, she's like, okay, you finished school. Are you going to apply? And I still have all the excuses. It was her and two other senior management people that came to me. And I'm like, okay, I think the universe is speaking to me. And eventually I thought about it, prayed about it, and I applied for it, went through the interview, got the job. I'm still in the job, I'm still learning, I'm still growing. But I thank God for those very special people that, God placed in your life. I thank God for family values. And I thank God for myself in terms of just believing in how important it is, education is, learning is, and never, because I got my master's degree after 50. I'm aging, everybody's knowing my age now. But that didn't stop me from going back to school. And this is where I am. I'm still doing what I loved, still making a difference in the lives of others. So many people invested in myself and my family. And I thank God for all of those people. And one of the most important things that I loved working are families that come from, other countries into the library. I've been there, I understand it. I'm always able to connect and just give them my life story.
Thank you so much, Lina.
Yeah, thank you.
Fun fact, Lina was on the hiring team when they hired me as the first time to the library. So she was one of the people that interviewed me, and I'm here too. Ati, what was your motivation to be in the career that you are right now? You're a case manager at IRIS, but also study what you studied at Wesleyan, and kind of how did your trajectory go for that?
Yeah, I think, again, begin with just like you, back to camp. I always wanted to become a lawyer. I think that that goal came, that kind of like dream came because, in the camp, I'm from, within the camp also we had a different community, right? And so in my community, we had no educated people. There was no one who went to school. And so we had to kind of suffered a lot because we had no representation within the camp also. Of course, we didn't have a representations for the refugee, for the camp itself, but within the camp also, in my own community, we did not have any representative. And even within my family also, I'm the first one to go to college or graduate. So I don't know, that's not having a voice in the community, not having the someone to speak for us kind of really encouraged me because even for my parents also, when they go, they are adults in the camp, right? They were we are scared of them. But when my parents step out of the camp, they were even afraid of little kids because they were teasing us, teasing my parents. They were poking my parents because they were refugees. They didn't hold the citizenship of the country. So they were and they had to tolerate because, of course, they were refugees. We were not protected by the laws of the country. We are looked after by the international organization. So because of that reason, I wanted to be a voice of my community, my people, my parents, and that really encouraged me to kind of pursue my career in law. And then, but later on, I realized that I cannot even be that, because of my status. I was refugee. I couldn't even go school or get the license for it. and other thing is the financial aspect also. If I had a money, if my family had a money, we could have illegally get the citizenship and then go for school for law. But we didn't have that. So because of that, like I lost hope to become a lawyer. And then so when I came here, after all the things that my brother were telling my parents, and my parents told us about the American dreams and life here, I started to have that hope of becoming what I wanted to become. So when I came here, I was already 16, and but I didn't really even think about like going to work. I like for some reason my mind was always in the school. Like so my case worker put me in 9th grade, and I'm thankful for that because that gave me the time to learn English and also immerse in the American culture, even though I'm not really totally immersed, I think. I'm still learning about American culture, and I cannot consider myself as a American. I cannot consider as Nepalese. It's like I'm kind of in the middle right now. That's how I feel. I mean, in terms of like citizenship, I feel like I'm American, and because this country accepts me for who I am. And so I'm thankful for that. And this Hartford community, like people here really welcomed me and made me feel like this is my home. And I'm really grateful for that. So yeah, I went to Hartford Public High School. I started from 9th grade, and when I was at I was senior that time, I didn't even know how the college application worked. And so my teacher, even though we did not have, when I'm thinking back now, we didn't have a lot of resources. But I'm glad, but it was, that time I felt like, oh my God, this is so much better. I have a lot of resources. But because I was comparing the resources from back home. But now when I think about it, even high school did not really prepare me for college, but the teachers were very supportive, and I'm still in touch with them, and they were really, really helpful, and they suggested me to apply for the community college, but I wanted to go to UConn, and but UConn rejected me, so I had no choice, go to the community college, and I ended up going to Manchester Community College, and after that, after 2 years there, I transferred to Wesleyan Wesleyan University. That I didn't know about that, but somebody at the writing center, I used to go writing center every day for my essay and also just to learn the grammar stuff. So yeah, and someone there who was the alumni of the Wesleyan suggested me to apply for Wesleyan, and I got accepted there. So I studied international politics, because I thought that will take me to where I want to be. And I sometimes I doubt, but I feel like still I think I made the right choice, because right now I'm working as a case manager, and it's basically I feel like I'm giving back to the community, because I was also served by the non-profit organization, not particular one. I was served by my family was served by Catholic charity, and now I'm serving other refugees, and this is my dream. I wanted to kind of be a voice and represent the Bhutanese, not refugee in general, also the vulnerable population. So yeah, I'm case manager now, and now I'm understanding the grassroots level of work, what actually happens when refugees come here, and what is the laws and policy of this country for refugees, and how they got the funding and all that. I think, and I'm really satisfied with where I am right now, and yeah, eventually I wanna go to law school, but I feel like I'm not ready yet, and this experience as my work experience will really, I think, add up to law school also, because my ultimate goal is, after even becoming lawyer, I wanna still serve the immigrants populations.
Thank you, Ati. And Sala, your turn. So kind of what was your motivation in studying what you studied at college, and how did you get from where you were to what you are now?
Um, my I started nursing in high school when I started here, when I came here, because every kid's dream in refugee camp is to study in medicine or become doctor, nurse, dental, or like someone who's in medical field to help like people in refugee. If you've seen people how they live there, they don't have doctors, they don't have hospitals, and that's kids' dream to help the people up there, and they really want to do their want to help, but there's not good education in refugee camps eventually. But when I got here, I was placed into nursing academy. I didn't know what that was, but I started learning in medical field, and I learned a lot in nursing, and I went to Yale camp for summer camp, and I met a lot of international students too. I stayed there for a month or a half so with them and learning about how to take blood pressure, CPRs and stuff like that. That motivated me to go farther when I got back to school my senior year. I didn't know when I was learning in nursing. I didn't know anything about what nursing meant or the terms that I was learning. I knew that school was just school for me to learn English, and like get a better understanding of English and communicating with people. I started learning alphabets when I was in ninth grade in high school. I didn't know nobody. I just looked at people. I started learning alphabets, and I didn't know how to do basic stuff. But yeah, that motivated me to keep me pushing towards college. When I got to college, I switched majors from nursing to public health because public health is really what I wanted to do. I wanted to travel, like maybe become a doctor without borders one day, and go back to my country and help my people with in medical field. So yeah, that motivated me to keep studying and do what I want to do to become Doctor Without Borders.
Thank you so much, Salah. Yeah. Yeah. So, should we skip Q&A too? Let's do Q&A. Okay. So, thank you everyone for sharing your stories. We're gonna go to Q&A right now. So just make, if you have a question, Mariana's right there and she will give you the microphone. Okay? Anyone? Any questions?
More than a question, I want to say thank you so much. I am an educator. Your experiences help me to understand the importance that the experience you brought to me, so I can help my students, especially the concern the many students have in the school, thinking how to help their parents, to survive, and basically maybe by impact their learning. Thank you so much for telling us also how you strive to succeed, to getting a job, because also that happen to students who high school, they need to think, what is my next step in life? And also thank you for sharing we need a community to help refugees. That's very important. Thank you so much.
Thank you. There's a question over here.
Hi, my name is Zikra. First of all, thank you so much for sharing your stories. I hear you, I acknowledge it, and this is an individual, as a, or say a mere human, could you like maybe tell us about what we as citizens are like, individuals can do for the refugee community? How can we partake or participate in this like movement to kind of like, help such communities? Would you have any like, anything to say about that?
Okay, does anyone want to, it's open to whoever wants to answer it. So to repeat the question, do you guys have any advice for individuals who want to help out the refugee community?
Yeah, do you want to go?
I guess like there's a different organization, right, in the state. IRS is one, Siri is another one, and there's another one also I couldn't recall. But I think reaching out to the volunteer coordinator, because volunteering is really helpful, because we are often like shortage of like staff, and especially for the case manager. One case manager has so many families cases, like so like one person is handling within the 3 months, like sometimes like it depends, like 15, sometimes like 30, like 50 families. And so like when we have to like kind of go within the in like 3 months, we have to go do the intense like visit. We will have to go to the family visit, and we have to like kind of coordinate with the different department within the organization, and we have like so much on our plate. And sometimes like when the volunteer comes, they can take the clients to like simple as like taking to the social security to apply for the social security, or for the state ID to DMV, or to the grocery shopping. Those things, like little things, would like save so much time for us, so we could like focus more on what is important. Yeah, I think like reaching out to the local organization is always like best things. And just like even like outside, sometimes like just saying hello makes a big difference. They like it will actually bring the like smiles to like our faces. Like for example, my mom, like a lot of time when people say hi, she will be really happy and come home and start to like talk about those things, like especially at the beginning. That really made a difference for my parents. So yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for the question.
One thing I can add, volunteering is a great thing, but educate yourself regarding the refugee matter and the situation they have. Most of the people, they do volunteering, working with them, and make themselves ready, but they're not getting knowledge about of this situation. If you work with the Syrian refugee, if you work with the Afghan refugee, or if you work with different refugee, try to get a little bit of knowledge about their own situation. Most of the refugees are here, but physically, mentality is still back home. Before, we had a lot of suicide attack in Afghanistan. I always tell the refugee, tell the like American community, when you work with the refugee families, don't ask about where you came, how you came, what's happened. Try to not bring this memory back again. And don't talk about like all of the things that you have fun, enjoy that much. Try to tell them how they can enjoy. Or like if there is suicide attack, there is probably some of their loved ones died in Afghanistan. Make sure you understand the situation when you communicate with them. For the volunteering position, like at Elena's Light, we have opening for online ESL tutoring all the time. We have 2 or 3 job opening. If you are looking, you already have any young generation who are looking, just go to the Elena's Light website and send me a text, email. Somehow we can get connected. And volunteering is the key. IRIS, Siri, Elena's Light, public libraries are the best places. The first school I can say I started was public library, because I was able to get internet and access to a lot of resources. If you want to do volunteering, that's the best. Thank you.
I'll add to the public library, because that's what I was thinking about. I don't work in any of the refugee agencies, but the Hartford Public Library, I mean, any refugee coming into new, whether in the in the U.S. or anywhere, utilizing the library is the best place you can be, because that's where you get connected to the new town or city or wherever you are. So the Hartford Public Library has the American Place, which has organized this wonderful event, right? The American Place is the place that really brings, welcome new refugee families into the United States and kind of hold their hands and walk them through the process of being, refugees in this land and getting resettled and right up to gaining their citizenship. You can volunteer. I'm sure there's opportunities for volunteering right there in the American Place. You can also, in my experience, there's always job opportunities in this department. Apply. Your experiences count. Many times we think because we don't have experiences in America, it doesn't count. That experience that you had where you came from, it matters. Those are professional skills that you developed, and utilize them. Put them on your resume, because they all contribute to the story of who you are as a professional or who you are as a volunteer. So the library is a very important place. Thanks for mentioning that.
Thank you so much. I think we're going to close off on the questions. There will be a time we will network and you can ask more individual personal questions. Thank you so much to the panelists for participating.